When the Bible speaks of love, it measures it primarily not by how much you want to receive, but how much you are willing to give of yourself to someone. How much are you willing to lose for the sake of this person? How much of your freedom are you willing to forsake? How much of your precious time, emotion, and resources are you willing to invest in this person? And for that, the marriage vow is not just helpful, but it is even a test. In so many cases, when one person says to another, I love you, but let's not ruin it by getting married, that person really means, I don't love you enough to close off all my options. I don't love you enough to give myself to you that thoroughly. To say I don't need a piece of paper to love you is basically to say my love for you has not reached the marriage level. Hello, my name is Mrs. Melanin.
And I am Beleaf Mel.
And we are here with episode 116 of How Married Are You?
My name Beleaf, this is Yvette. We've been married 10 years. I'm in California. Got four kids. Relationships are scary and it's very necessary that we share our love or struggles and we ask how married are you? Every Tuesday and Thursday, shawty. If you're listening, you're in a wedding party. Sometimes deep, sometimes lighthearted. I don't know what else to say, so it's time to get it started. Look,
it's chocolate baby story time.
Chocolate baby story time.
It's chocolate baby story time.
1, 2, 3, and
it's chocolate baby story time.
There we go. So yesterday, we were in the Black Love Summit.
Yeah.
Which is actually airing
this weekend.
Actually
in a
few days.
Thursday.
Yeah. So we were in this session with some pretty high profile celebrities. Won't tell you who yet, you know what I'm saying? But we were in the session and we were like, hey, we have kids. They're young. You might hear them during the episode. They were like, no, fine. No problem. So then all I hear is, Dad, Uzi has the scissors. And I'm like, take the scissors away from the baby. And then I'm like, I'll be right back. And they'd be like, well, yeah, go ahead and get the. It was so funny because like, they were like, why does the baby have scissors?
Yeah. The sad thing is, I think they're going to cut that part out, but I feel like they should leave it in.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think the question was about kids, wasn't it? When they were talking to us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
What about you, babe?
I don't really have any, I don't think let me think.
Oh, you can talk about what happened right after the thing? Well, I went upstairs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I feel like, are you even a parent if you don't have a story about hunting down poop?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was we had to record this segment for the Black Love Summit. They pre-recorded it and they'll put it out next, whatever. And so my intention was for Uzziah to be asleep during that time because that's usually his nap time. Did he sleep late or something? I'm not really sure what happened, but he wasn't tired.
He woke up super late. He woke up late.
So he wasn't tired at his normal time, which was unfortunate. And so we had to put him in the room with the kids for a quiet time. And so apparently while he was in there, he pooped. And so as we finished the call and we're headed, I think Glen went upstairs first. Glen gets upstairs. And how did you notice it?
Literally, he had it in his hands. He was just sitting there looking at me like this.
He was at the top of the stairs.
Yeah. So
he was at the top of the stairs looking at Glen like that. And I'm like, and I hear Glen's reaction. I don't remember what you said, but I heard it and I'm like, He did, because I remember thinking, dang, he just cussed. The kids listening. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The other day, Lexi was like, so Raya said, damn. And I was like, oh shoot.
That's light work.
She was like, it wasn't in the appropriate context though. So it was very innocent.
No, I'm ashamed.
But I was like, oh shoot. Anyway, so then Glen gets Uzi, takes him to the bathtub. I'm walking up the steps and I see poop at the top of the steps. Fortunately, we have like hardwood floors at the top of the steps. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wipe this up. Then I go into the room because I'm like, I know if there's poop here and it was on his hands, it's somewhere else.
And then who comes in?
And then Raya comes. And
just the extra.
He's so dramatic. I forget his exact wording, but he's like, oh, no. Raya stepped in the poop on this top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, like, it was like, why were you even out of your room? It's quiet time. You're supposed to stay in your room. So that was what he got. You know, that was just like payback for not being obedient. So he stepped into it. I was like, sit down, sit. So he sat down. I had to wipe off the bottom of his feet, and then I wiped it off at the top of the stairs. And then we get into his. No, I didn't go into his room. I think I went into his room initially to look, and I didn't see anything. And the next thing you know, I hear Anaya and Raya. And mind you, Theo, poor soul. He's on the toilet having his own poop session. Him and Uzi must have got a taste of the same thing.
Oh, man.
Anyways, so you have Theo's like chiming in from the toilet, and he's like, you can tell he's experiencing serious FOMO. Did you get that? I felt like he was experiencing.
I was washing
FOMO.
The baby.
But anyways, Raya and Anaya scream because they're like, there's poop in your room. And if you've watched the episode of Belief in Fatherhood, you could probably imagine how animated your Raya was.
Yeah.
And so I go in the room. And y'all, it's everywhere. It's on like this toy that Anaya used to have. It's on the plastic bin.
Oh, so he was walking around touching stuff.
Babe. It was on the plastic bin that had the blocks in it. It was on the carpet. Oh. It was such a sad, horrible story. And I was like, man, I thought Glen was getting the worst end of this.
Because I had to clean the baby. I thought I was too. I didn't know you were dealing with all that.
Yeah, I was cleaning up poop, babe. I was cleaning up poop. And I left the wipes in the room just in case they found any more.
Yeah. Yikes. I thought I was getting the worst of it.
No, I thought you were too until it was time.
Yeah, but you know, like I had to spray them down and then like wipe it out.
It's just poop.
Yeah, it is what it is. And then like he's trying to get it as it's going down.
He's trying to grab it from the
Yes. I had to spray him. Yeah, it was whack.
I know, because when I got in the shower, you had changed the water head thing.
Yeah.
I was like, he always does this.
I put it on blast to try to knock the poop out his butt. Ugh.
Lord. We should compile all of the potty stories we've told on How Married. Okay, so someone wrote us and they were like, you guys should like go back to old episodes and react to them. And I was thinking that actually might be fun.
Oh, Belief in Fatherhood?
Yeah. No. Of How Married Are You? That's not as fun as going to Belief in Fatherhood.
I just remember how I felt.
You'll be triggered.
I'm always triggered, so it's no big deal. Are you ready? Yeah. I think I'm ready. Okay. So can I just tell you that kids cursing is kind of my jam. I'm not against that. How does it make you feel?
I don't like it.
You don't like
it? I never cussed until I married you.
Mm-hmm. Your parents think I'm some type of, I don't know. Because now you curse.
Not my parents, my mom.
Your mom. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So Glen's over here looking. So our last Thursday episode, we did the whole, what are they called? The and cards. And one of the questions was like, who loves who more or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the comment section, like I did go peruse the comment section, and it was interesting, like your guys' feedback about that. And I kind of feel like I need to stand up for Glen for a minute, because I feel like people just kind of get at him. But I also feel like more of the comment section is starting to stick up for you and understand.
I only could look for a little bit because I was kind of like, this is grossing me out.
Who he is as a person. But Glen is a really good husband. Like, I am not the type of person who would be in a relationship with someone who makes me feel, is the word oppressed or like whatever? I don't really know what the word is, but he is a really good husband in the way that he loves me by work. I mean, not by work, by deed and all the things. And so I just want to say that, like, I don't need to be rescued from this relationship or any of that. I don't know if I'm really saying what I want to say, but I just want y'all to be in the comment section. I want to say to those of you guys in the comment section, thank you, but no thank you. And then to those of you guys in the comment section who genuinely like are rooting for us, and I don't believe that anyone's not rooting for us, but for those of you in the comment section who are able to at least hear or see both sides, and maybe you don't necessarily understand both sides, but you understand that this is something that we are working through in our relationship, and that the what we are sharing with you guys is like a gift, not necessarily like, it's not your right. Is that the word I'm trying to use? The right?
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
I love that word.
That we are allowing you guys in this way. And so I don't know. I feel like the Lord will be, I just feel like, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. All I'm trying to say is thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Even thank you so much for chiming in, because I don't necessarily want people to stop commenting, because sometimes y'all say things that is like, oh man, that's really good feedback. And sometimes you guys say things that actually just that help us keep pushing on with this. Yeah. In a way that makes me feel like, oh, this is actually making a difference, even when it's hard to share some of the things that we share.
Yeah. I just want to piggyback on that. Like, I know that you love me, you know what I'm saying? And just want to communicate like a lot of like, I think what happens in the comment sections, I think that people, they see things that trigger them, like microaggressions, you know what I'm saying? And I totally understand that. I also know that, that Yvette, like, she doesn't communicate the way I communicate. So when we are having these conversations, it really is us for the first time having the conversation. It's not a show. Mm-hmm. It's not a, you're going to say this and I'm going to say this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, we're just talking about this stuff for the first time in our feelings right now. Mm-hmm. And so a cool thing about this is that, like, people are trying to, an interesting thing about this is that people are trying to make a decision on who you or I are in this very moment, when we are just a summation of the things that we've experienced mostly in the past 2 or 3 weeks or a couple days, and how we're feeling in that moment. So sometimes you may say something and I, you know what I'm saying? I'll be like, man, I really don't, like, in the past, like 24 hours, I don't know how you've been loving me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that may be a real answer to that question, but that is not who we are in the totality of this relationship. And, y'all, it's like, this is the anti-cancel. You can't cancel this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this,
cancel what?
Like
our marriage,
us, like, or whatever, because it's like, yo, you're gonna see the growth in the humanity of me and her. You're gonna see us grow together, and so the hope is that you are rooting for the collective. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Not that you were trying to find a side, because I mean, a lot of y'all, like, I mean, like, I'm glad that you guys are here, but sometimes I'll be like, man, I hope y'all going hard for yourself. You know what I'm saying? As hard as, you know, you trying to save the homie here. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't even want Yvette to be in a bad relationship. You know what I mean? Like, that is important to me. But yeah.
Somebody called us a watered down reality show.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. But I thought it was funny. All right. So, anyways, given our conversation from last Thursday, have you guys heard of this book, The Meaning of Marriage by Timothy Keller? I feel like I've mentioned this book before and people have had varying like feedback about it. I've talked to people in my personal circle who have read it, and they're kind of like, take what you want, leave what you don't, or whatever.
All right, so I don't know about this guy, Timothy Keller.
You don't know about him?
Is he good people's?
I don't know. He's a believer.
I know. I think he's very
What?
right wing. I think.
Oh,
But either way,
okay. Regardless of his whatever, I just so happened to open the book to chapter 3, which is titled "The Essence of Marriage," and I haven't read this book all the way through, so whatever. But there was a part on here. Honestly, the first several pages of the chapter were good. But this consumer versus covenant section of this chapter is a chapter the portion that I'm going to read. So I hope y'all can bear with me. It's not that long.
shorter than some of them emails. No offense. Keep sending the emails.
Please keep sending emails. But I'm going to read this and then I would like to have a conversation about it. Okay. In sharp contrast with our culture, the Bible teaches that the essence of marriage is a sacrificial commitment to the good of the other. That means that love is more fundamentally action than emotion. But in talking this way, there is danger of falling into the opposite error that characterized many ancient and traditional societies. It is possible to see marriage as merely a social transaction, a way of doing your duty to family, tribe, and society. Traditional societies made the family the ultimate value in life, and so marriage was a mere transaction that helped your family's interest. By contrast, you got it?
That's saying a lot. What? What?
So basically they're saying like in traditional societies, you would, like how men would marry off their daughter to another one because the family was like the ultimate value. They valued family more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like on some Game of Thrones. Like,
yes,
you're going to marry my family and then she'll be the queen.
Yes.
Got it.
So basically, he's just kind of reflecting upon that mindset.
Okay.
By contrast, contemporary Western societies make the individual's happiness the ultimate value. And so marriage becomes primarily an experience of romantic fulfillment. But the Bible sees God as the supreme good, not the individual or the family. And that gives us a view of marriage that ultimately unites feeling and duty, passion and promise. That is because at the heart of the biblical idea of marriage is the covenant. Throughout history, there have always been consumer relationships. Such a relationship lasts only as long as the vendor meets your needs at a cost acceptable to you. If another vendor delivers better services or the same services at a better cost, you have no obligation to stay in a relationship to the original vendor. In consumer relationships, it could be said that the individual's needs are more important than the relationship. So the main idea here is we want to compare a consumer relationship to a covenantal relationship. Mm-hmm. So you understand consumer relationship. Mm-hmm. There have also always been covenantal relationships. These are relationships that are binding on us. In a covenant, the good of the relationship takes precedence over the immediate needs of the individual. For example, a parent may get little emotionally out of caring for an infant, but there has always been an enormous social stigma attached to any parent who gives up their children because rearing them is too hard and unrewarding. For most people, the very idea of that is unthinkable. Why? Society still considers parent-child relationship to be a covenantal one, not a consumer relationship. Sociologists argue that in contemporary Western society, the marketplace has become so dominant that the consumer model increasingly characterizes most relationships that historically were covenantal, including marriage.
Were.
What did I say?
War.
Today, we stay connected to people only as long as they are meeting our particular needs at an acceptable cost to us. When we cease to make a profit, that is, when the relationship appears to require more love and affirmation from us than we are getting back, then we cut our losses and drop the relationship. This has been called commodification, a process by which social relationships are reduced to economic exchange relationships. And so the very idea of covenant is disappearing in our culture. Covenant is therefore a concept that is increasingly foreign to us. And yet the Bible says it is the essence of marriage. So we must take some time to understand it. And so the reason that I wanted to read that, man, I feel like I left out so much. But the reason I wanted to read that is because I feel like if that were more of an understanding, like I feel like last week I couldn't really articulate like how I love you. And like, I think I was associating it a lot with like my feelings, but not necessarily. There was one part here.
Like being committed to the covenant.
Yeah. Like thinking about it as a covenant relationship. And I feel like, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you were kind of thinking of it. Actually, I can't say that.
Consumer. I was thinking of it as a consumer.
I wasn't. I feel like you were talking about it more transactionally, but not necessarily because, okay. So then he also, can I just read this paragraph? I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
He said, this is like before he starts talking about all that stuff, but he said, but when the Bible speaks of love, it measures it primarily not by how much you want to receive, but how much you are willing to give of yourself to someone. And, it says, how much are you willing to lose for the sake of this person? How much of your freedom are you willing to forsake? How much of your precious time, emotion, and resources are you willing to invest in this person? And for that, the marriage vow is not just helpful, but it is even a test. In so many cases, when one person says to another, I love you, but let's not ruin it by getting married, that person really means, I don't love you enough to close off all my options. I don't love you enough to give myself to you that thoroughly. To say I don't need a piece of paper to love you is basically to say my love for you has not reached a marriage level. But when I read that paragraph, I actually, like, when I was reading those questions about how much are you willing to lose for the sake of the other person, how much are you, I feel like you did do all those things. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like I do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think it looks different.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that came up yesterday when we were recording for the Black Love Summit. They said something like, how do children change your marriage or whatever? And the people who were part of the conversation were like, yeah, most definitely. And one of the women in there was like, she said, what was her wording? She said something like, it's just different or whatever. Or it changes. But for me, what I took away from what she was saying is that we start to love, like our love does look different in different seasons. And I think that it's unfair to expect it to stay the same, like from the beginning of the relationship. Yeah. And so I don't know.
Yeah. I just think that I think that what's happening is it's like it's modification. You know what I'm saying? So like I have to modify how I love you based on who you are in that season. You know what I'm saying? So I think what is difficult, I'm trying to like be careful with my words here, but I think what's maybe difficult on your side is that I don't know how much modification there's been to how you love me. Right? It's been pretty consistent. Like I've loved you the same pretty much. I feel like from my perspective, like I've had to kind of adjust the way I love you based on like what the season we were in. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, that looked like going from like, I'm cool, whatever, to like, no, we actually have a plan. Here it is. Or like, you know, you were pregnant with Theo and like service looked a lot different during those seasons. You know what I'm saying? And then Uriah was kind of like, it's not going to be the same as last time because we have a baby already. You know what I mean? And then the same before and, you know, and even to now where it's kind of like, you know, usually I'll be like, yo, we could afford an air fryer, but do you really need an air fryer? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but now it's kind of like, man, like this, she's going to be excited about cooking. It's a win-win. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm not going to like prevent you from doing something that you think is going to better your life. you know? I don't know, but I feel like in that moment, like there was kind of like love given to be like, man, you make the decision. You know, I don't need to co-sign on that.
So what informs your like your ability to see that love looks different? Because you're saying, because I'm just curious. Like
how does it look different from you to me?
No. So like you said, you have been able to adapt. So like in different seasons, your love, the way you love me has changed. What informs that?
What informs you, or what informs me that I need to change?
What informs your shift in how you love me?
I don't understand the question.
So you're saying, okay,
I'm missing the word informs. Like who's being informed?
You're being informed.
Okay, I'm being informed.
You're being informed that you loved Yvette this way that time, but now she needs to be loved this way this time. What is the biggest thing that informs you of that shift is necessary?
What you say. Or at least how you communicate, or what I can predict by knowing you. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting, because in the last podcast too, you were like, to be loved is to be known. And so I'm just starting to wonder.
What are you starting to wonder?
Do I know you? And like, if I don't know you, what's keeping me from knowing you? Is it like something that is my responsibility? Not trying to like push off responsibility, but just trying to understand like, why is it so hard for me to, because you said I've been consistent for 10 years, but it's not working.
I definitely think you've grown in your, like, the way you express and show your love, for sure. You know, even through like, you know, physical touch, or, you know, even how you speak to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have definitely grown, you know what I mean, in those ways. But I can say that not even since the pandemic, but since I was telling you maybe like a year and a half ago, like, hey, I'm about to change. I'm about to be different. Like, that person is different from the husband you had in 2015. You know what I mean? And that's who, like, you kind of got to get to know a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not that, you know, I'm faulting you for like staying the same. It's just that like I've adjusted. Like, I've kind of become like, yeah, they gonna hate me.
Who's they?
Whoever. You know what I'm saying? And
so am I among the whoever? Like,
no, I don't think you're among the whoever, but I think you can be. You know what I mean? Because who I am is different. Like, it's not so much about, you know, it's not so much about like what I want to do, or like, you know, I like the age old, like, yo, you can make your own schedule. Just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not what we do here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a schedule, you know what I mean? And this is what we all abide by, you know? And of course, you know, things change and switch up or whatever, but, there's a shift in my mind that has happened, and that person is like not here.
Can you describe that shift? Do you have words for it?
It is, dang, how can I describe that person? It's like all the things that I used to think in my brain are now being said, you know? And it comes out, and it looks to people who, you know what I mean, who may be like on the other side, it looks mean. You know what I'm saying? But like, to me, it's like, I know exactly what I want, you know? And why is that bad? You know? So like when like I realize I'm starting to touch on to the point where I'm kind of like, oh, the more like I really need mentorship and I really need accountability. But I also know, like, not on some like weird Kanye stuff, that I'm a pretty creative individual. And if you let me run with something, like, I might be able to make something amazing. You know what I mean? And that part, like, it's like that little bit of like, you know how people like, I got an idea, but I'm scared to say it. Or I got an idea, but I told my friend. I got an idea. And I'm like, I'm not even telling people I got an idea. I'm just like, move. I got to do this. You know what I'm saying? And so there's people who are genius, right? And they don't have enough belief in themselves to do anything. But I have this idea and I got the balls to do it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so,
So are you thinking that I have a more confident version of who you used to be?
Yeah.
A more confident, a more bold. Like, I chuckled at the fact that you said that you were more outspoken, because I feel like you've always been outspoken, like said what's on your mind.
I've always been outspoken, but I've always been outspoken in a safe space. But as your platform grows, you're called to speak to a larger group of people. You know what I'm saying? And so I realize I can't really be on one side or the other. I kind of got to go hard for one thing, you know, and be on like this side. Like, I can't just say, oh, vote. I have to say who I'm voting for. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different level of, you know, like I'm here now. Like, I feel like I'm like breaking into my new shell. You know what I mean? And all the relationships are the same. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, somebody's gonna have to fly with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna need people to like kind of get weird and dream with me, you know? So as newer people come in, right, they see me as the man I am now, not who I used to be. So it's easier for me to be like, look, man, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? And easy for them to kind of ride along.
It's a very good point.
And so it's like a caterpillar to a butterfly type thing. And I'm like, yo, y'all still crawling around? Don't you know we could get wings if we wanted to? And we could fly? Are you trying to fly or not? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, nah, like, it's cool down here. You know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, man, we could really fly. And so that's that. And I've watched you caterpillar to butterfly, right? To like, I've watched you transform in so many different ways. You know what I mean? And I am also kind of like, we either both butterflies or we're not, you know what I mean? Or we both caterpillars. Like, we cannot both be, like, we can't be either or. You know what I mean? And so you might have to kind of, and this is rude, but I'm saying, like, I'm not saying that you're not fly, but I'm saying you might have to learn to be a little bit more, like, it's like you're a butterfly, but it's almost like you're kind of scared of heights. Here I go with the analogies again. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you really, you know, you could fly, you know, but it's like, what are people going to say when they see my wings? Or how are they going to look at us if we're just, they're going to forget about us.
I think, yeah.
And I'm like, it's other butterflies. We can always kick it with the caterpillars. And this sounds terrible, but I feel like when I'm just talking to you.
I don't think it sounds terrible. I think it sounds very real. I was actually I read this morning that Joe Biden, you know, he's about to become the president. Yeah. And his wife is a professor at a community college, or she's a professor or something. And that she's going to, like, even when he was vice president, she was still professor. Nice. And now as he continues to be president, she plans to still be teach? A professor. And I was just thinking about that as you were speaking. I was like, huh.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, her husband's got this really high profile position, and maybe she can use her passion for teaching in a different way. But you think it's awesome that she wants to stay that way.
Because that's her calling. You know what I'm saying? So when I ask you, are you operating your calling? Or are you doing things that you think other people want you to do? Like, I'm okay, whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, like, I don't think the same way I used to think.
Yeah.
So when we have conversations, you're kind of like, well, what is this person going to think? I'm like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I have an issue with a family member. And they don't want to talk to me. They say, hey, I don't want to talk to you. And I'm like, cool, I don't want to talk to you either. Cool. So I like made it impossible for them to get in touch with me. I didn't even know they was calling, but I held you to your word. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't have time, or with old friendships. Like, I don't have time to argue about things that are going to distract me from what God has told me I'm supposed to be doing. Now, that doesn't mean I shouldn't deal with the root of my issues. I should, but I have no time to be distracted from the work I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? Therefore, like, I can't have that conversation. I got a phone call with Michelle Obama. I can't talk to you right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's impossible. But I'm not telling you that you have to do whatever I'm doing. I always want you to do exactly what you want to do. I just want you to do that, and not to be operating in, like, you know, the things that, you know what I'm saying?
No, the things that what?
Like some. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, guys, that was a little bit too precise there. But I'm just saying, like, yo, our mental should be on some other level type stuff, because we got 4 kids, we got a community, we have the potential to touch a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, we could be really kicking it with the Obamas if we wanted to. You know what I mean? But it doesn't look. And so, like, for instance, last episode we talked about birthday, right? And so the fundamental issue with the birthday thing for me was, like, you're not necessarily doing this for me. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing this because you want to do it for me. And that's technically doing it for you. You know what I mean? And so let me be me. You know, one thing about me is, like, I really try to protect you from other people. Right. And you don't necessarily want to be protected, but I could be like, yo, Yvette doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? And people be like, well, why are you saying that? I'm like, I know my wife. She does not want to do that. And if you ask her to do it, she's going to say yes. But I know when we get home, she's going to be like, why did I say yes to that? So I'm going to just be like, I don't think she's going to want to do that, fam. You know, someone hits me up. Hey, can your wife tutor me? No, she cannot tutor you. Now, my wife will say yes because, you know, sometimes you're a people pleaser. You know what I mean? But I'm very protective over you. You know what I mean? And I think that is kind of what I need. And you have definitely been displaying that. You know what I'm saying? So that across the board is kind of like, man, my husband is so focused. I'm proud of him. You know what I mean? Or like, even with the kids, like, yo, there's this, you know what I'm saying, dad's not home. You know what I mean? And that for me is like, okay, you know. But like, there's just a season of time, and we always talk about this. It's the same old thing. Season of time where it's gonna be tough. But when our children are going through what homegirl from last podcast, little brother, was going through, like, I'm going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll have the time to, because right now I'm grinding.
Yeah.
And I'm still here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm just not there for every moment.
Yeah.
But let's put it like this. If we weren't following our dream, or not even our dream, but the mission that God has given us, all of our children would be in childcare. or at school right now, and both of us would be working. You know what I'm saying? So we wouldn't have any of this, you wouldn't have any of that, and I wouldn't have any of that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
It's interesting because as I listened to you talk back in, I think it was like 2012, we went through Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey, and his whole thing is live like no one else so you can live like no one else. And as you're saying that, as you're speaking, that is what is coming to my mind. And a lot of times, like, I hate like, this is just the season you're in, this is just the season you're in, or whatever. But it's true. Like, sometimes we just have to live through a season of discomfort in order to get to the season of comfort, which I think is what you are alluding to, basically. But like, I know this, but it's like something that
it's not in your frontal lobe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like something that I just can't, I don't know. I lose focus sometimes. And so
I think what happens is, like, you know, you're very present. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, yo, right now, the kids are dealing with this right now, and you need to be home right now. You know, and I'm just kind of like, all right. But the goal is, I want you to look at this, and we can play this portion during the episode, but I want you to see this real quick. Listen to your words. Watch what we talk about.
still like offering your creativity and provide income, you know?
Yeah.
It took us a while, but it's happening.
It's taken us a while. We ain't there.
That's but I'm saying, like, we're at least at the point where it's like, I literally have not had money brought in income since June, and we're in October. What is that, 4 months?
You know what's crazy is I think this is the least stressful August we've ever had.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the Lord's kind of showing out. He's proving himself faithful. He used us. But I don't know. I'm just really grateful. Because I don't know how I would be doing that work right now.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, these are the things we already conversed about, you know what I mean? And that are coming to fruition. And like, I feel like we're on a highway. We're not going to be here long. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're just taking a road trip. And sometimes, you know, when you're driving through freaking New Mexico, it's a long drive. You know what I mean? Or some of them cities, it's like long. It's like, dang, man, we still in, you know, in Texas, you know? But yeah. But I think that I understand when you say, like, I have a consumer.
I wasn't necessarily accusing you as having a consumer, but I was thinking about it along those lines because I feel like we as a society really do have that consumer mindset. Like, this marriage is not serving me anymore. Why am I still here? Type vibes versus viewing it as a covenantal relationship. And I think that if we have that in the frontal lobe of our mind, and how we think about what it's supposed to be, it would make a difference. Like it says, in a covenant, the good of the relationship takes precedence over the immediate needs of the individual. The good of the relationship.
Over the immediate needs.
Of the individual. Versus a consumer relationship, the individual's needs are more important than the relationship.
Yeah. And I think what's hard for me is that, like, when we have these like these issues, they become so detrimental to me because I'm like, oh, then God never told me to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody wrong. You know what I mean? And so I'm like having this war with myself, like, am I off? You know, maybe I am. Like, I don't know. You know, sometimes I really do doubt, like, if I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, you know, when we're having these issues, because it's kind of like, I'm not the same person. Like, I look at myself and I look at like old videos or whatever, and I just look at myself like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, you was off. Or think about when I was traveling around the country and doing all this stuff with music and being like, bro, you was really finna be a DJ. Not no disrespect to DJs, but like, you was really finna, like, you hate DJing. You were about to be a DJ, you know, for 10 some odd years. You know what I'm saying? And be John's, you know, big brother on the road. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I was really about to do that. And all because someone told me to. Like, and so now I'm like, man, I don't have to get no permission. I can literally just make what I want to make. And that for me is just like, and I get paid for it. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to me. And people get inspired and then they do stuff with it, you know? Mm-hmm. And then like black people be looking good. You know what I'm saying? With or without me, but I'm just like, man, I get to add to that. Mm-hmm. So I do feel very much like full, you know. But when we go through it, it's kind of like, because I know I'm supposed to be with you. There's no doubt in my mind. You know what I'm saying? But like, the question is like, okay, how are we going to be together? You know? But the man I used to be is just not here. And I think it's for the better.
Yeah. Genuinely, I was listening to, so what I'm doing right now is kind of a study on leadership. Mm-hmm. I had stopped, like, I'm a podcast lover. Like, I listen to podcasts I used to, but for the past few months, actually, I haven't been listening to as many podcasts as I was. And recently, Charmaine actually shared a clip. Black Love shared it, but she brought it to our attention of us talking about leadership in our marriage. Mm-hmm. And when I watched it, I was like, well, damn, like, we haven't come very far. Like, that episode, they like taped it at the beginning of this year. Was it January or February?
Yeah.
I think it was like January. And so it was like, man, the amount of, can he hear your voice? Is he saying dad? The amount of progress that I would have hoped we had made from the time that conversation was taped to now, it's like, well, goodness gracious, we are not very far. And so I'm realizing that my viewpoint, or how I view leadership in marriage, has to change and shift, and I need to like be really thinking about that a lot lately. So I was listening to what's his name, Eggerson, the guy who wrote Love and Respect. He has a podcast. It's really old, but there was an episode on submission, and he was kind of talking about like I forget, is it Ephesians that talks about submission? The scripture says husbands, wives.
Yeah, I think so. It's Ephesians 5.
I think 5:24. I don't remember, but it was talking about at some point in there it talks about like mutual submission, and then submission.
Yeah, 5:25. Wives, submit to your own husband as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as.
Start at 21. It says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then it says, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife. No, where is it at? I guess my translation doesn't say it, but it like the word shifts from wives
Love to respect.
Yes, wives respect your husband or something. I'll have to link the podcast in there for you guys to listen to. But anyways, I was listening to that and I was thinking like, because he was talking about how like, you know, just because you are respecting his leadership or whatever doesn't necessarily mean like you're a doormat or you're just doing whatever he says or whatever. You're actually respecting him in a way that like if you do disagree with something, you respectfully say something or even take it to the Lord and allow the Lord to be the convictor in that moment or whatever. But, and that's not necessarily the case with us. It's not that you're doing things that I disagree with or anything, but I was just realizing that for me, it really is just letting you lead. Because Glenn often will talk about, I don't know if you said it on the podcast or if this was in therapy.
It was in therapy.
But he's like, you know, it's like you let me lead, but you're still like, what was the analogy? A horse?
It was about a what?
A horse?
No. No.
What was it? A dog?
It was a child on
on
a
a bicycle.
Dang. See?
I do listen. But he was like, you know, it's like she's letting me lead. It's like you just took off the training wheels and I'm riding a bike, but you're still like holding on to the seat or whatever. And I'm realizing that I got to let go of the seat.
Well, and the thing is like, it sounds like I'm asking her to lay down what her goals and dreams are or whatever, and just let me do what I'm doing. And it's not even that. It's just kind of like, yo, if you know, because the question was like, do you think that Glenn is going to lead us in the wrong direction? She's like, I have no doubt that Glenn is going to lead us where we need to go. We're going to get there. But she said the way we get there is my issue. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, well, you know, I don't think he's even saying like, I don't mind changing the way, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, instead of like, it seems like to me that you are saying that you are cool with where we're going, but when we talk, it's like you want to stop me from going. Like you're saying you're cool with how we're getting, what we're doing. Just every 3 minutes, you're like, slow down. It's like that Bernie Mac skit, you know what I'm saying? Like when in the driver's seat, he's slow down. It's a light right there. Stop sign coming up. Slow down. You're going too fast. Look, you know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, all right, like I know how to drive. I have my driver's license. You know what I mean?
And so then like for me, it's like, yeah. And that's a really good analogy because it's like, I know where we're going. I know that we're going in the right direction. I don't believe he's going to drive us off of a cliff. I know that we're headed somewhere. But for me, it's like, I am like a more efficient driver or
so you say.
safer driver. And so it's like, just let me drive or let me at least like guide you or whatever. And so I'm realizing that I just kind of have to like buckle my seatbelt and enjoy the ride and just trust, not so much in you, but more so in like God. And that, like you said, like I truly believe that we are supposed to be together. Like I believe that like this marriage is totally what God has established.
100%.
And so I know that God loves me and he loves me more than he loves you. And so he wouldn't.
What?
I'm just kidding. I didn't really mean that. But God loves me and he wouldn't give me a husband that I am supposed to submit to who's going to lead me astray.
I hate that word.
But whose leadership I'm supposed to respect, honor, I don't know, cherish.
I hear what you're saying, but I just want it to be known that like you, like I listen to you, like I take your, like I consult you, I listen to you, I don't disregard what you say, but that's the point, is that I listen to you, and I don't know like when you're talking to me, if you're talking to me or if you're just talking, you know, and so. Yeah. And that's the communication issue. We were in that group, that thing yesterday, and they were like, has anyone been to therapy?
Oh my goodness.
And they were like, nah, nope, I ain't never been in.
And then one person started to say like, That's just me, but like I feel like if you can't work it out yourself, then
yeah,
like why be together?
What?
I was like, whoa, bro.
Yeah,
Chill.
you guys gotta watch that because, but for us, like we know that like the therapist came right on time.
Yes,
you know what I mean, and you know I'm excited to get my own therapy for sure. You know, but in due time, you know what I mean, like. Even just being like a CEO, the amount of like conversations I'm having on like reminding people that I'm the boss is weird. And it's like, so every day I'm having a deep conversation either about the YouTube channel on a podcast or whatever, but then like also to an employee or to someone that I need to consult with or whatever. And so it'd be a lot, man. And I'm not saying that you don't have, you know, the stuff that you have too on your plate with all the children, but I'm saying that it'd be a lot.
Yeah, another podcast that I'm listening to, it's a different one, but it's Brene Brown. She just started a Spotify exclusive podcast on daring to lead or something. And did I write it down? I think I wrote down a quote. She said vulnerability is the path to courage. And I think a lot of like, and she was saying how courage is like one of the number one things that leaders were saying that they needed was courage. And I feel like you have come to a point in our relationship where you're just like, Yvette, I can't like put up with, like you said, like you've shifted in the way that you think about things. And you're like, I just can't put up with accommodating you like I have been for the past 10 years. And that took a lot of vulnerability for you to even like say, but it was very like courageous of you. And it shows good leadership because it's like, dude, if I'm going to lead us well, I can't keep going on the way I'm going on because I'm going to be suffering in silence. And so while your vulnerability and courage like kind of, you know, shook the foundation a little bit, I still feel like it was necessary and it's going to take us places. What's happening with your face?
I'm just listening.
But I don't know. I feel like it was necessary in that we're on the right track. And so yeah, you're flying and maybe I'm afraid of heights. So
whatever it is, we're gonna get there. And that's the thing. It's like I've been the conversation I've been having to a lot of the men who have been hitting me up. And shout out to y'all, man. Y'all been in my inbox and I love it. Yo, the thoughts I've been having is like, can I still be who I am in this position without my wife's like 100% like I'm ride or die? Like, can I still do that? And that's what I've been struggling with. Is like I still have to do what I'm called to do, right? You know what I mean? And so like I've been having to say yes, and it's been causing a lot of hardship here. You know, I think it's easier for me to just be like, nah, like I'll just do whatever you need me to do. You know what I mean? And it's just like, but then I hate
resent me.
I would resent myself because the man I became in 20 years, I'd be like, man, you was a sucker. You know what I mean? Because you didn't even stand up for yourself. And I see men like that, and it's hard being around them. You know, it's hard communicating. I don't have any depth in our conversations because I'm getting a shell of who they are. I'm talking to the outer shell. There's nobody inside of there. It's hollow. You can't get nowhere with them. And there's a lot of men like that. And I'm just not trying to be one of them dudes.
Yeah. And I don't want you to be one of those dudes.
So we're going to get through it. Definitely. We're going to get there. And just so many more conversations we need to have. We need to write down our goals and all that stuff. So.
How married are you, babe?
I am so married that last night I just was like, hey man, get out of here. Go ahead to the store.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was like, why are you here? I'll put him to sleep. The kids are fine. Right? Send you on your merry way.
You did. And I ended up buying an air fryer.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't tell me those were so expensive. But if you do follow me on Instagram, and you did give me feedback about the air fryers, I appreciate you.
How married are you, babe?
I'm so married. So married. How married am I?
You've been doing a lot. Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, I don't know how married I am. Go ahead. Well, how married am I? Tell me.
Well, you helped me out with the shoot.
Oh, yeah. With Anaya?
With all the clothes, you went to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you went to go run some errands, and you put that stuff in the front part of your brain and solve some issues. Yeah, I mean, we can't really say who the deal is with because it's not announced. But yeah.
Yeah. That's just and that's just how married we are.